Shalom. I'm going to start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to my teachers, the elder apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to all the fellow laborers of the old for elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. In this lesson, I want to focus on this comment, which this was posted on the elder apostle Tahar's video. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. And, I just happened to be scrolling down on the comments, and I came across this comment, which was put up by end time teachers, which I'm actually kind of familiar, with this whoever this individual is. I've seen him, leave comments in the past on different various brothers' videos. Now I'm not sure, what his stance is on, whether he agrees with Great Millstone or not, because sometimes, he's agreeing and sometimes he's posting something that kind of goes against the grain. But nevertheless, I saw this comment and I read through it, and it kind of inspired me to want to, do a response lesson. Now, he's talking about the breakdown of Romans, the 13th chapter. Basically when Paul, when he addressed the church of Rome, he told them to, be subject to the higher powers that the Lord ordained. And, some brothers believe that, this is talking about obeying your own government, whether it be, the high priest, the judges, so on and so forth, in which, there is a law that, you are supposed to subject yourself, to the rulers in Israel. The scriptures say, revile not, your judges, all right, which are your the men who, governs on different matters in Israel. You also have the high priest and so on and so forth. But you got to think back to when Apostle Paul was on the scene. Many of us, we were not in the land of Judea. All right, there was a diaspora. We were scattered under the Roman Republic, which went on to be the Roman Empire. All right, so we were subject unto actual governments. We were not sovereign as a nation. All right, so obviously, Paul was given instruction to the church at Rome that, yeah, you might be a follower of a Mashiach, you believe the gospel, but you still need to, maneuver with wisdom, keep some of the ordinances, as long as it's not going against the law, statutes, commandments. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to keep the peace, wherever we are. So anyway, I'm gonna read the comment, and then we're gonna go into the actual chapter, and we're gonna get the understanding. Because certain guys, say that that's not what that's talking about, to justify that, revolutionary spirit that they got on them, that militant revolutionary spirit, which, that was the spirit that caused the Roman Judite wars that we had, that led to the abomination of desolation. You had the Sicarii, which I'm not surprised that the Sicarii, their stance on this is not talking about, being subject to the ordinances of the powers that be, but it's talking about, your Israelite ministers. Of course they would take that stance. The Sicarii didn't believe in paying taxes to Caesar, so they were going completely against the grain. What did Yahweh Shai say? Render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, and render to the Most High what is the Most High's. So he was telling the Lord was telling you to obey the powers that are ordained. All right, those were the authorities at the time, man. The Roman Caesars, the emperors, and the governors up under them. But anyway, let's read the comment. And he says, Shalom, Apostle Tahar, peace and blessings to you. I just wanted to make a point that is we at ETT, or End Time Teachers, as well as the Sakari, disagree on the teaching regarding Romans 13. It's not talking about obeying your government. If that is the case, that means everyone would have to take the mark of the beast. All right, so if that's what that means, then don't wear your seatbelt, don't pay your taxes and registration. All right, don't pay car insurance, run your red lights and stop signs. All right, don't get a license. All right, don't go to the DMV. Don't do none of that stuff because that's not what that's talking about. Obviously, we know not to take the mark of the beast. That's where we're gonna have to become martyrs if we have to. All right, that's when we have to take an opposing stance against this devil. We're not going to subject ourselves to that level where we're going to just agree with this devil, causing us to go against the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That's obvious. But anyway, continuing on, it says, so as Deacon Sakari shown is talking about when we are in our own land. Well, the epistle to the Romans, they were not in their own land. They were in Rome. They were not in Judea. So that argument does not apply. It says, great point. It says, it says that this is the minister of God. So anyone who says Romans 13 says to obey the government is saying that God's minister is Esau, and that's clearly not true. See, this is where you lack understanding and you're going based off of your own understanding. Scripture say to lean not to your own understanding. And we're going to get to it. It says no disrespect, though. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Again, we give you a respectful shalom from ETT. So this guy, he's wise in his own conceit, but he doesn't realize, he's actually wrong. All right. Actually, Esau, as long as he's in position of power and the Lord appointed him in that position, he is the minister of the Most High on the left hand. Just as Caesar, when the Lord was on the scene, Caesar, which was still Esau, he was in an authoritative position. He was in power. Hell, even Yahushua didn't rebel against Pontius Pilate. He said, if my kingdom was of this world, then my servants would fight. So even Yahushua understood that the powers that be, which was the Romans, they were ordained of the Most High. All right. So who was right, Yahushua or you? But let's go right into it and let's get understanding. This is Romans 13:1. It says, "Let every soul be subject," meaning placed under the rule, "unto the higher powers. For there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High." All right. How do we know that? This is Proverbs 8:15 and 16. It says, "By me can kings reign, and princes decree in justice. By me princes rule, and nobles, even all the judges of the earth." So by the Lord kings reign. All right, let's get another precept. Not Deuteronomy. Daniel 4:17. And it says, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in a kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the bases of men." All right. And Esau, we know he's the basis of men, but yet the Lord still set him up over the world. As it is written, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob's beginning that followeth. We're still in Esau's world. That's why he still has all the authority. He has all the power. All right. So going back then, 2,000 years ago, Esau was still in power. All right. This was before the deadly wound. All right. They were at the height of their authority and their power as the fourth beast that Daniel prophesied of. Okay. And they were going to be even more powerful than all the previous beasts before them. So the Lord was dealing with the Romans on the left hand. All right. Now let's get another one, because even Peter stressed this to the church. All right. This is 1 Peter 2:13. It says, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king. And who is king over us in Judea? Well, during the apostles' time, you had the Herodians, man. Herod, all right. You had Herod Agrippa, who Paul had to talk to when he was trying to appeal to Caesar. He had to deal with the governor, uh, 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 Festus, the procurator. They all had different levels of authority, man. It says to the king as supreme. All right, and I think it was Nero at the time when Paul was going through what he was going through. Nero, which was one of the worst emperors of Rome, he was in power, and that was who Paul had to appeal to. When you look at the timeline, hey, because when you go to the timeline, when Paul wrote these epistles, this was like around the 50s A.D. During that time, that was when Nero was reigning. All right. So it says, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme or unto governors. All right. So you had different levels of governors, during the Roman Republic and eventually the Roman Empire. All right. You had pro magistrates, you had proprietors, you had proconsuls, you had imperial governors. All right. You even had direct governor power from directly from the emperor himself, and that position was known as the principate. So there was different levels of governors in the Roman Empire. So you had to subject yourself to all forms of rule. Okay, that's not to say if they told you to do something against the Most High, you do it. That's where you take your stand. Plus, we're prophets, so we prophesy against them. But when we have a life and we have to maneuver, we still have to keep certain ordinances, man. Just to be at peace with all men, like the scriptures say. Because we didn't want the ministry to be blasphemed. We didn't want You don't want to have your ministry be spoken evil of. So we had a certain way of conduct. We had to live as according to the gospel. Yahweh Shai gave us protocols. All right. So really, we didn't appear as a threat per se, but our message was what was threatening and what led to the persecution of the men of the Lord. Not because of their willingness to arm themselves, gather together, and gather arms, gather in numbers, and get ready to perform a rebellion. That wasn't the lot. That wasn't the job of the servants, the prophets, man. That was not the job of the disciples. That's why you had certain zealots who knew that wasn't the way, and they repented and converted and followed Yahweh Shai. Simon was one of them. All right, because they knew you're not going to win this as long as the Lord is with the powers that be. You're not going to win that. And the Sakari and those other zealot factions, they had to learn the hard way. So reading again, it says, or unto governors, as unto them that are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers, for the praise of them that do well. For so is the will of the Most High, that with well doing you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. Okay? As free and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness, but as a servants of the Most High. You had other men who would, take this liberty, this grace of the Lord, and turn it into maliciousness, man. If you suffer, like it says in that same chapter, if you suffer, don't suffer as an evildoer, as a murderer, as a thief, but as a follower of the anointed. And when they see your conduct, you put into silence the ignorance of foolish men who try to speak evil against you. Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles. You see? So going back, Romans 13:2, it says, whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of the Most High. So if you, try to take it upon your own hands, you're trying to take matters into your own hands and go against Esau, you're going against the order of the Most High. Okay? It says, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So in other words, you're not supposed to be a revenger. You're not supposed to try to avenge yourself. The Lord got that. The Lord said, vengeance is mine. And we know that there's no way of taking this devil down except by the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right? You don't have that power right now. Jake talking about getting guns and going to the gun range. That's not your power. That's Esau's blessing. So if you try to revenge yourself like the Sakari did, you're just gonna receive damnation. Jake talking about a neighborhood watch. Getting guns and you gonna go out there and protect your brothers and sisters from the authorities. You going totally off. The Lord said He kills and make alive. So really, you're going against the Most High. All right. Unto the Lord belong the issues from death. So when a Jake gets killed by a Edomite, whether it be a cop or whoever, the Lord sanctioned that. You gonna get angry with the Most High? We understand it to be judgment, and it says, "Evil men understand not judgment. Whoever perish being innocent." Yeah, it does rile us up, and it does show us that this devil is our enemy. But it's not our job to get emotional and call ourselves trying to arm ourselves and try to rebel against the authority, man. Leave that to Jake in the world, especially if you're a prophet, if you're a teacher, if you're one of the Lord's men out there on the highways and byways. Your job is just to teach and warn Israel. That's it. You ain't got no business playing the revolutionary and prophet. Anyway, matter of fact, let me get a quick precept, Salat. Let me go to the Apocrypha. And I want to say it's in Sirach, the was it 28? Yep, this is Sirach. Um, yep, Sirach 28:1. It says, "He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and He will surely keep His sins in remembrance." All right, so if you get your get back, you try to revenge yourself, you try to get so-called justice for yourself instead of letting the Heavenly Father deal, because it tells you that even in Ecclesiastes the 5th chapter. All right, let's go there real quick. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 5:8. And it says, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. All right. Which the Most High, he's the highest. And he sees what this devil's doing to his people. You know, he sees what's going on. It tells you that even in Psalms, the 10th chapter. Let me get Psalms 10. And was it 15, 14? Psalms 10, and I'll start at 13 and verse 14. It says, "Wherefore doeth the wicked contemn the Most High? He hath said in his heart, Thou wilt not require it. Thou hast seen it," talking about the Most High, "for thou beholdest mischief and spite, to require it with thy hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art a helper of the fatherless." So the Lord sees what this devil is doing. He sees all the injustices, but we still are not to take matters into our own hands. We still have to leave it in the hands of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, He's gonna avenge us, man. Okay, but our people don't have that patience. Those different Zilak groups, they didn't have patience, man. You know, they didn't they was tired of suffering, which that's understandable. But Jake was being in the flesh. All right, so anyway, let me X out of that and let's go back to Romans 13. And it says, "For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil," which is why Peter said, suffer not as a murderer or a thief or a evildoer. Because if you're a criminal, Esau. When Jake is a criminal, that's when Esau really turns into a super devil. And he will persecute you, to the fullest extent of the law. Whether he lock your ass up and give you a lengthy ass sentence, or he actually puts you to death on the spot. You know, the Lord talked about how we're supposed to was that Matthew 5, where it says agree with thine adversary quickly. You do anything, you get this devil a reason, he's gonna he gonna get at you, man. You know, it says in the Apocrypha, basically not to don't make no sudden false move. Let me go to that too. And this is one of the things that Jake don't understand. And this is why Jake is destroyed for the lack of knowledge. They don't move with wisdom, and that's why Jake always wondering why Esau murders Jake. It's because Jake doesn't understand how to move with wisdom, man. They're so overly emotional. They're very impulsive. You know, we have this wisdom, and this wisdom will allow you to make wise, rational decisions. So that you don't fall into these type of situations, man. All these riots that take place, where Jake is going crazy because Jake got put to death for not using wisdom, but just being, reckless. There's Sirach 9 and 13. It says, "Keep thee far from the men that have the power to kill. So shalt thou not doubt the fear of death. And if thou come into him, make no fault." You know, agree with thine adversary quickly, man. The Lord also said, "I'll send you in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." You know, a soft answer turneth away wrath. Sometimes you gotta learn when to just turn the hell down. Jake don't know how to do that, man. Jake say turn down for what? Jake like to go from 0 to 100, and that usually get them put to death. Because then when you go from 0 to 100, Esau from to go from 0 to 1,000 and blow your ass away. So it says, "Make no fault, lest he take away thy life presently. Remember that thou goest in the midst of snares, and that thou walkest upon the battlements of the city." So it's all about using wisdom, man. And that's exactly the message that Paul as well as Peter was given to the church. Just walk with wisdom, man. Do what you're supposed to do, so that you don't bring that you know negative attention to yourself. You better believe, Esau had the ministry under the scope. We was making noise, man. There was camps all over the place, all over the Roman Empire. Teaching Yahweh Shai, man, teaching the gospel of the kingdom. So going back, it says, "For rulers are not terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have the praise of the same." So, hey, do nothing but good things, man. That they have no evil thing to say about you. We had run-ins with the police, and the police was like, "Man, y'all doing a good thing out here, Yeah, if your ways please the Lord, even your enemies will be at peace with you. You know, they can see how gentle we are. We're charitable amongst each other. We're reasonable. All right. It says, "For he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain." And this is we're talking about Rome here. All right, we didn't have our own government in Rome. You know, no, we were subject to the Roman officers and procurators and magistrates. It says, "For he is the minister of the Most High, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil." Yeah, if you suffer as a murderer or a thief or an evildoer, or even you that rise up in arms trying to be all militant, trying to be in that revolutionary spirit, Esau will execute wrath upon you, man. Even the Lord said, going back to Genesis, if you try to get vengeance on Cain, you try to touch Cain, the Lord's gonna exact vengeance upon you 7 times over, man. All right, and then you mentioned, because it says he's the minister of the Most High. This can't be talking about Esau. Well, what is a minister? It says a minister, and the Greek word is diakonos or diakonos, and it says one who executes the commands of another, especially of a master, a servant, attendant, minister, the servant of a king. All right, and all the governors, they all serve the emperor. Okay, they all had their duties they had to do. They were appointed over provinces. They were appointed over militaries, certain jurisdictions, different administrations, so on and so forth, man. All right, and it says, of course, a deacon, one who, by virtue of the office assigned to him by the church, cares for the poor and has charge of and distributes the money collected for their use. All right, so yeah, it can be, regarded for, um, a deacon in a church, but this is not talking about the deacon. All right. So going back, and let's prove that even a heathen in power can be a minister or a servant of the Most High. Now here's some scriptures. When you type in "King of Babylon, my servant," this is an example. All right, this is Jeremiah 25:9. It says, "Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land," talking about Israel, "and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them and make them an astonishment and a hissing and a perpetual desolations." All right, so the Lord was going to use Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king of Babylon. The Lord raised him up and put him in a position of power, and he was the minister of the Most High. And guess what? All the different regions, all the nations round about, including Israel, we had to become subject to him because the Lord appointed the Babylonians to rule. All right, that lion, All right, this is Jeremiah 27:6. It says, "And now have I given all these lands unto the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him." All right. Um, let me move over. Yep. Verse continuing on, verse 7, it says, "And all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's son, until the very time of his land come, and then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him." All right. And continuing on. This is what the Lord is basically telling Israel. If nobody will serve them, this is what's going to happen to you. It says, "And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand." And guess what? Did not the Lord do the same thing to Israel when Jake tried to rebel against the Flavian dynasty? That's exactly what happened. The same thing that happened to us under Nebuchadnezzar, under the Babylonian Empire, that happened to us again under Rome, and we because Jake was trying to rebel against the authority and caused that great war that caused a lot of Jake to be slaughtered by the sword and die off in the famine. And then they ransacked the temple, just as Nebuchadnezzar and them did. You see, showing you that what the Lord rules in the kingdom of men. So when you go against the grain, it's like you basically rebelling against the orders of the Most High. So you're subject unto governors. You're subject to the higher power, whether it be the king or whether it be the governors up under the king. Right now, you got to wear a damn face mask, man. Now, are you gonna wear that shit 24/7? Hell no, you ain't. 'Cause we ain't gonna kill ourselves. But if you got to go into the store and grab some stuff, man, put the damn mask on, and if you can, don't try not to put it over your nose so you can at least breathe through your nose. Get in there and get out, and then take that shit right back off. Well, you know this devil, sleepy creepy Joe. You know he just signed an executive order that we got to wear is mandated now. So even outdoors, well, as long as you don't see no police nowhere, you ain't got to wear that shit. But now, if you see the police, it's just like putting on your damn seatbelt. You know, when you see the police or not. Let me use a better one because really you should wear your seatbelt. But like when you on the phone in certain states, you under a law that says you're not supposed to be on your cell phone, while you're driving. So what do you do when you see the police and you happen to be on your phone? You put that shit right down. You know. So the same thing, if you got to put your mask on when you see them motherfuckers, and then when they roll past, you could take that shit right back off. But you're trying to avoid, extra oppression, man. You got to pay extra fines and fees and all that shit, man. You know, get a ticket written up or possibly even go to jail. All right. So it says, continuing down, and this is gonna prove, this verse right here. This is gonna prove once and for all, if you just keep reading, that this is actually talking about the Roman authorities. Let's continue reading. It says, Wherefore, wherefore you must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are the Most High's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues tribute to them, whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Okay, and now you understand why Apostle Paul was submitting himself to King Agrippa. You know, because he knew that hey, the king has pardonship, and he was on an appeal. You know, hey, Trump recently just pardoned those rappers, Lil Wayne and Kodak Black and them, which that was a slap in the face to his own Edomite patriots. But nevertheless, the president has that power. So Caesar, not Caesar, Agrippa, the king, he would have, put in the good word to the Caesar. So that's why he was, kind of, speaking smooth things to the king. I'd rather that, none of y'all come into these chains, you know. So anyway, that's it right there, and that's a precept to what Yahweh Shai said: render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and therefore render to the Most High what is the Most High's. So you're subject to ordinances, you're subject to payments. All right, as this day, Baruch 3 and 8. So that's what that's talking about. Okay, and then when you look up that word governor, the Greek word is hegemon, which where you get the word hegemony from, or hegemon. And you go down here, it says a leader of any kind, a guide, ruler, prefect, president, chief, general, commander, sovereign, a legatus, Caesarus, an officer administering a province in the name and with the authority of the Roman emperor. Okay, you had imperial provinces and different other provinces that certain governors, were officers over. Okay, um, it says the governor of a province, a procurator, an officer who was attached to a proconsul or a proprietor and had charge of the imperial revenues. And I mentioned these different governing titles. You see, that's what you were back then. You were subject to. Now, we because this is the same Roman setup that this society is modeled after the first beast, right? Showing you that this is the same empire all over again, just reincarnated. We're dealing with the same thing, man. The president is your modern day Caesar. You have your Senate, you know, you have your state governors, okay, all going back to the ancient Roman Empire, man. It says in causes relating to these revenues, he administered justice in the smaller provinces also, which were, so to speak, appendages of the greater. He discharged the functions of governor of the province, and such as was the relation of the procurator of Judea to the governor of Syria. All right, and during the time of Nero, you had who was it? I think you had Vindix, Gaius Julius Vindix, which he was a Gallic governor, and eventually he actually came against Caesar Nero, you know. And then you had other governors. I think you had another governor that actually tried to stop that rebellion that came against Nero. I forget the name of. I think it was Rufus, if I'm not mistaken. He was another governor. All right, I think he was over Upper Germany at the time. So you had different governors over these different provinces under the Roman jurisdiction. See, so that means that we didn't have our own sovereignty. All right, so you know, and if you take the militant stance, the revolutionary stance, then hey, no, it's no wonder why Israel got slaughtered. Okay, because the Most High is using Esau. Remember, Esau is the sword of the Most High. All right, he's that rod in the hands of the Most High, the Assyrian That he's sinning against a hypocritical nation, that being our people. All right, him coming down with that great wrath and him having the power that he has to speak as that dragon. Hey, that's controlled by the Most High on the left hand. So you think you're gonna try to rise up against that with your own might? All right, go on right ahead, man. And as for my man right here, man, hey, you might have to go back and do your own studying, man. Hebrews 5 and 12, man. Matter of fact, let me end off with that. And if Sakari, if they take that stance as well, then hey, they need to go back and restudy too, man, because they didn't learn that up under the apostles. But hey, they since then broke off from them, so they switched up some things so they can. That's why they're who they are. They not among us. All right, but this is Hebrews 5 and 12. It says, For the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. All right, so you're gonna have to unlearn and relearn, man, because that's if that's your understanding, then that's a stumbling block. If Jake think that there is not going off to rebel against the powers that be and try to take up arms and try to take vengeance for themselves, that's a stumbling block. You're gonna get Jake slaughtered out there, man. Because Jake is not seeing Esau when it comes to the sword. That's bottom line. We need divine power, and that's what we're to wait upon. The Lord said, "Wait ye upon me until I rise up to the prey." All right, when this devil try to come like a great flood against us, the Lord's gonna lift up that standard. That's when we're gonna finally see the power at work. All right, you saw what happened to Grandmaster Jay in the NFAC. Where did that go? The Black Panther Party. The FBI is visiting their leaders and disarming them. So what? So what now? So anyway, the point was made. I hope this was edifying as well as you know, uh, understanding, understanding, and hey, this is what we do. We use these videos for edification, man. All right, this is off. So with that, I'm gonna give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to my elder apostles of the great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.